The Phantom's return space around Kepler Station had always been quiet. The orbital platform served as humanity's furthest outpost, a lonely sentinel watching over the trade routes that connected Earth's scattered colonies to the broader galactic community. Station Commander Lisa Park had grown used to the routine traffic of merchant vessels, diplomatic shuttles, and the occasional patrol ship from one of the major alien empires. But nothing had prepared her for what appeared on her sensors at 0347 station time on a Tuesday that would reshape the galaxy. The UES Phantom materialized without warning. Not jumped in, not decloaked, not arrived through any known form of faster-than-light travel. It simply wasn't there one moment, and then it was, hanging motionless in space like it had always belonged in that exact spot. The ship's hull gleamed, with an impossible perfection, untouched by the wear that 15 years in deep space should have inflicted. Park stared at her displays, her coffee growing cold in her trembling hands. The Phantom had been declared lost with all hands after vanishing during a research mission to investigate strange energy readings in the void sector, a region of space so empty that most navigators refused to chart courses through it. The ship had carried a crew of 47, including some of Earth's brightest scientists and most experienced deep space explorers. The station's AI began broadcasting automated hails, but the Phantom remained silent. Its energy signature was unlike anything in the databases, pulsing with rhythms that seemed almost organic. The ship's design was recognizably human, but something fundamental had changed. The hull seemed to shimmer with patterns that moved like living tissue, and sensor readings fluctuated wildly whenever they tried to focus on specific sections. Within hours of the Phantom's appearance, chaos erupted across the galaxy. The ancient Vorthok Empire, whose technology had remained unchanged for millennia, suddenly found their most advanced systems failing without explanation. Their massive dreadnoughts, each one capable of glassing entire planets, went dark one by one. Communication networks that had operated flawlessly for centuries collapsed into static. The Zilani Confederation, known for their psychic abilities and mental discipline, reported that their most powerful telepaths were experiencing violent headaches whenever they tried to sense the Phantom's location. Some fell into comas that no medical intervention could break. Their ruling council issued an emergency decree declaring the ship a mental hazard and ordered all Zilani vessels to maintain a minimum distance of 10 star systems. On the water world of Aquatica Prime, the amphibious tidal lords emerged from their deepest ocean trenches for the first time in recorded history. They spoke in their ancient ceremonial language, warning of the deep current that flows backward and predicting great changes that would reshape the flow of all waters. Back on Earth, the response was fractured and chaotic. Humanity had never truly unified after leaving their home world. Dozens of colony worlds, space stations, and asteroid habitats each maintained their own governance, military forces, and political agendas. The Earth's central authority, weakened by decades of colonial independence movements, could barely maintain order in the Sol system, let alone coordinate a galaxy-wide response. President Maria Santos called an emergency session of the Colonial Council, but representatives from the outer colonies refused to attend in person, citing security concerns. The Martian Federation demanded exclusive rights to study the Phantom, claiming their advanced research facilities made them the logical choice. The Jupiter Collective threatened to withdraw from all Human Alliance treaties if they weren't given equal access to whatever technology the ship might contain. Captain Sarah Chen watched the political chaos unfold from her small apartment on Lunar Base, feeling a familiar mixture of disgust and determination. she had served in the Earth Navy for 20 years before the budget cuts forced her into early retirement. She'd commanded 3 different vessels, fought pirates in the Outer Rim, and negotiated with alien traders who viewed humans as barely civilized primitives. Chen had also known Commander Jake Morrison personally. They'd served together on the U.S. horizon during the Tau Ceti incident, where they'd successfully prevented a war between human colonists and the insectoid hive communes. Morrison had been one of the finest officers she'd ever served with, a man who could find diplomatic solutions to impossible situations while never backing down from a fight when his crew's lives were at stake. The official reports listed Morrison and his crew as missing, presumed dead, but Chen had never believed it. Morrison was too smart, too resourceful, too stubborn to simply vanish into the void. If anyone could have survived whatever they encountered out there, it would have been him. When the Colonial Council finally managed to hold their emergency session, the debate raged for 18 hours. Some representatives wanted to destroy the Phantom immediately, viewing it as an existential threat to human civilization. Others demanded that it be boarded and studied, regardless of the risks. A few suggested attempting to communicate with the ship, though none could explain how they might accomplish this given the complete radio silence. Chen didn't wait for the politicians to reach a decision. She quietly submitted a request for permission to approach the Phantom in her personal vessel, a modified long-range scout ship called the Wanderer. The request was initially denied, then approved, then rescinded, then approved again as different. Factions within the Earth government gained and lost influence. Finally, after 3 days of bureaucratic chaos, Chen received clearance from an obscure subsection of the Navy's Deep Space Command. She suspected the authorization might not be entirely legitimate, but she didn't care. Every day they waited was another day for the galaxy's fears to escalate into something that might provoke a preemptive strike against the Phantom. The journey from Luna to Kepler Station took 6 days at maximum burn. Chen traveled alone, as she'd always preferred. The Wanderer's small cabin felt more like home than any planet-side residence she'd ever maintained. During the long transit, she studied every available record of the Phantom's original mission, looking for clues about what they might have encountered in the void sector. The research data was frustratingly vague. The team had been investigating reports of spatial anomalies and impossible energy readings from automated probes. Some of the data suggested the presence of structures or phenomena that violated known physics. One probe had transmitted readings showing what appeared to be a star-sized object with negative mass before losing contact permanently. As the Wanderer approached Kepler Station, Chen began to notice strange effects on her ship's systems. Navigation. Computers occasionally displayed impossible readings, showing their position as simultaneously inside and outside normal spacetime. The artificial gravity fluctuated randomly, sometimes reversing direction entirely for brief moments. Most disturbing of all, Chen began hearing sounds that had no source. Whispers in languages she didn't recognize that seemed to come from inside her own thoughts. Station Commander Park granted Chen permission to dock, but warned her that several other vessels had attempted to approach the Phantom over the past week. Most had turned back when their crews began experiencing severe psychological effects. One cargo hauler had made it within 1,000 kilometers before its entire crew fell unconscious simultaneously. They'd awakened 12 hours later with no memory of the intervening time and an inexplicable compulsion to avoid that region of space. Chen resupplied the Wanderer and ignored Park's warnings about proceeding alone. She'd faced worse odds before, and the mystery of what had happened to Morrison and his crew outweighed any personal concerns about safety. The Phantom waited in space like a dark promise, its hull reflecting starlight in patterns that seemed to shift when nobody was looking directly at them. The final approach took 3 hours of careful maneuvering. As the Wanderer drew closer, Chen felt something she hadn't experienced since her first deep space mission decades earlier. Genuine wonder mixed with primal fear. The Phantom was beautiful and terrible, familiar yet utterly alien. Its hull showed no battle damage, no signs of the harsh environment that should have existed in the void sector. Instead, it seemed to glow with an inner light that pulsed in rhythm with something Chen could feel in her bones. At 500 meters distance, the Phantom finally responded. A docking bay opened in its side, revealing an interior that glowed with soft, warm light. Chen's instruments detected breathable atmosphere and normal gravity, but most importantly, she detected life signs. Human life signs, 47 of them, exactly matching the crew manifest from 15 years ago. As the Wanderer settled into the docking bay, Chen saw a figure waiting for her in the airlock. Tall, broad-shouldered, with the confident posture she remembered so well. Commander Jake Morrison stood there unchanged by 15 years in space, but there was something different in his eyes. They held depths that hadn't been there before, knowledge of things that human minds weren't meant to comprehend. When Chen stepped out of her ship, Morrison smiled. It was the same warm, genuine expression she remembered, but now it carried weight that made her shiver. "Sarah," he said, his voice exactly as she remembered, yet somehow containing harmonics that resonated in frequencies beyond normal human hearing. "I was wondering when you'd come looking for us." Chen found her voice with some difficulty. "Jake, what happened to you out there? The whole galaxy is going crazy since you appeared. Their technology is failing, their psychics are having breakdowns, and everyone's terrified." Morrison's smile faded into something more serious, more profound. "We found something, Sarah, or maybe it found us. Either way, everything changed. We died out there in the void, all of us. But death wasn't the end. It was just the beginning of understanding what humanity was always meant to become." He gestured toward the ship's interior, where Chen could see other crew members moving with the same fluid grace, the same sense of purpose that transcended normal human behavior. "Come aboard," Morrison said. "Let me show you what we've learned. Let me show you what we're offering the galaxy, and what we're warning them about. Because, Sarah, the universe is so much bigger and stranger than anyone imagined, and humanity's role in it is about to change forever." The Awakening Protocol. Chen followed Morrison through corridors that resembled the Phantom she remembered, yet felt fundamentally different. The walls pulsed with gentle bioluminescence, and the air carried scents she couldn't identify but that somehow felt like home. Crew members they passed nodded respectfully, but Chen noticed their movements were too coordinated, too purposeful. They moved like dancers, performing a choreography they'd rehearsed for lifetimes. "Your crew seems well," Chen observed carefully, watching Morrison's reaction. "They are," Morrison replied, leading her toward what had once been the ship's conference room. "Better than well, actually. We've transcended many of the limitations that once defined us as human." The conference room had been transformed into something resembling a garden mixed with a temple. Organic walls curved upward into a dome that showed not the metal ceiling Chen expected, but a view of space that seemed to extend infinitely in all directions. Plants she didn't recognize grew in impossible geometric patterns. their leaves shimmering with the same light that pulsed through the ship's hull. Dr. Elena Vasquez rose from what might have been a chair, but looked more like a living sculpture. Chen had known her as the Phantom's chief xenobiologist, a brilliant scientist with an infectious laugh and a tendency to work 18-hour days. Now she moved with the same fluid grace as the others, her eyes holding the same unsettling depth. "Sarah," Alina said, her voice carrying harmonics that made Chen's bones vibrate. "Jake told us you'd come. We've been preparing for this conversation for years." "Preparing how?" Chen asked, settling uneasily into a chair that molded itself to her body with disturbing precision. Morrison sat across from her, folding his hands in a gesture she remembered from their old briefing sessions. "We need to tell you about the architects," he said, "and about what they showed us in the void." The story that unfolded over the next several hours challenged everything Chen thought she knew about the universe. The Phantom's crew had indeed encountered something in the void sector, but it wasn't a hostile alien force or a dangerous spatial anomaly. It was something far more profound and terrifying, the remnants of a civilization so ancient that they had evolved beyond physical existence. The architects existed before the first stars formed. Alina explained, her words accompanied by images that appeared directly in Chen's mind. They transcended matter, energy, even time itself, but they left behind something important: knowledge of how younger species can evolve beyond their biological limitations. The process wasn't conquest or assimilation, Morrison emphasized. It was invitation. The architects had recognized something in humanity that most species lacked, an adaptability and curiosity that made them capable of joining the architect's level of existence while retaining their essential nature. "Every member of our crew chose this," Morrison said firmly. "We were dying, Sarah. Our ship was failing. Our life support was exhausted, and we were too far from any possible rescue. The architects offered us a choice: die as we were, or live as something greater. And now you're what, exactly?" Chen asked, though she suspected she wouldn't like the answer. "We're still human," Alina replied, "but we're also connected to something larger. We share consciousness with each other, and with the architect network that spans the galaxy. We can manipulate matter and energy in ways that seem impossible. We can travel through space and time without ships, and we can offer this gift to others." Chen felt a chill of understanding. "That's why you came back. You're recruiting." "We're offering," Morrison corrected, "to humanity and to every species in the galaxy. The universe is facing challenges that no single civilization can handle alone. Dark matter entities that consume entire star systems, temporal paradoxes that threaten to unravel causality itself, the heat death of the universe approaching faster than anyone realizes." Alina leaned forward, her eyes glowing with soft light. "The architects prepared for these challenges by transcending physical existence. They're offering us the same opportunity, but only if we choose it freely, and if we refuse." Morrison's expression darkened. "Then humanity and every other species in the galaxy will face those challenges alone with their current limitations. Most won't survive." Chen spent the next day touring the Phantom, speaking with crew members who had been her friends and colleagues 15 years earlier. Each conversation reinforced the same unsettling truth: they were still recognizably themselves, but enhanced, beyond anything she could comprehend. Lieutenant Commander Torres, who had struggled with mathematics as a cadet, now spoke casually about manipulating 11-dimensional space. Chief Engineer Patel, who had been afraid of deep space, now described traveling to parallel universes as easily as walking between rooms. Yet they also retained their humanity in ways that surprised her. They laughed at old jokes, remembered shared experiences, and showed genuine concern for Chun's well-being. They weren't emotionless machines or alien parasites wearing human faces. They were her friends, transformed into something unprecedented. The galaxy's reaction to the Phantom's presence became more extreme each day. The Vorthok Empire declared a holy war against what they termed the infection, mobilizing fleets that had been dormant for centuries. The Zilani Confederation retreated into complete isolation, sealing their borders and refusing all communication. Dozens of smaller species evacuated entire star systems rather than risk exposure to whatever the humans had become. Earth's response was equally chaotic. Colonial governments issued contradictory statements about the Phantom, some demanding its immediate destruction, while others called for peaceful dialogue. Religious groups proclaimed everything from the Second Coming to the end times. Scientists argued over whether the phenomenon represented the next stage of human evolution or humanity's final doom. "They're terrified," Morrison observed as he and Chen watched news feeds from across human space. "They should be. What we're offering will change everything." "Maybe that's the problem," Chen replied. "Change is frightening, especially change this fundamental." Morrison nodded thoughtfully. The architects faced the same resistance when they transcended. Most species reject the offer initially, some never accept it at all. What happens to those species? They continue as they are, for as long as they can survive the challenges ahead. The architects don't force evolution, Sarah. They simply make it available. Chen made her decision that evening, as she stood alone in the Phantom's observation deck, watching Earth's sun shine in the distance. She could feel the offer in her mind like a gentle whisper, an invitation to become something greater than she had ever imagined possible. The transformation would allow her to experience the universe directly, to travel between stars as easily as thinking, to be part of a collective consciousness that spanned multiple galaxies. But it would also mean leaving behind everything she had known as human. Her memories would remain, her personality would persist, but she would no longer be entirely Sarah Chen. She would be Sarah Chen plus something immeasurably more. "I need time to think," she told Morrison when he found her there. "Of course," he replied, "but not too much time. The galactic situation is becoming unstable. Several military fleets are converging on our position, and we may need to leave soon." "Where will you go?" Morrison smiled, that unsettling smile. "Everywhere, Sarah. We're going to visit every human colony, every alien homeworld, every space station and asteroid habitat. We're going to offer the gift to anyone willing to receive it. And we're going to prepare for what's coming." Chen returned to the Wanderer that night, but she didn't leave immediately. Instead, she transmitted a long message to Earth, describing everything she had learned about the Phantom and its crew. She explained the architect's offer, the coming challenges, and the choice that now faced every sentient being in the galaxy. Her message triggered another wave of panic and debate, but it also sparked something else: curiosity. Scientists began studying the probe data from the void sector with new understanding. Philosophers debated the nature of consciousness and evolution. Even some political leaders began asking whether humanity might benefit from the transformation. Morrison described, when Chen finally made her choice, she did so with full knowledge of what she was gaining and losing. The transformation was painless, but profound, like waking from a dream into a reality so much more vivid that her previous existence seemed like a shadow. She retained her memories, her loves, her fears, but they were now part of a much larger tapestry of experience. The Phantom departed Kepler Station 3 days later, carrying Chen and her enhanced consciousness toward the next phase of humanity's story. Behind them, the galaxy held its breath as species across thousands of worlds grappled with the same choice: evolve or remain as they were, transcend their limitations or face the universe's challenges with their current capabilities. Some chose transformation, others rejected it violently. But for the first time in galactic history, every sentient being had to confront the fundamental question of what they truly were, and what they might become. The Phantom sailed between the stars like a seed of change, carrying its offer to every corner of known space. And in its wake, the galaxy would never be the same again. Chen stood on the observation deck of her transformed ship, watching stars pass by like grains of sand, feeling the vast network of consciousness that now included her voice. Humanity's next chapter was beginning, and it would be written across the entire universe. The old fears were ending. The new ones were just beginning.